Hey guys, Kev here, and I want to do my full review on the EMPEDC Nymble. So, this is a knife that I picked up. It's been a little while now. I think they dropped in June. Is that right? They dropped in June. Has it been that long? I don't think so. I think it was like early July, late June that they dropped. Excuse me, it was a pre-order I picked up. I paid $250 on EMPEDC.com for this a few months ago. I think it was like 3 or 4 months before they dropped. These are OEM'd by QSP. You've probably seen me do a few videos on this, unboxing, disassembly, first impressions, and then I did another video, I believe, when I got the second version. This is the frag pattern version with gold hardware, or anode hardware, or whatever it is. And then there's a plain titanium with blue hardware. I did buy that, and it actually worked better for lefties for some reason. And I think it has something to do with the way the frag pattern's cut on the lock bar. You could put a little more pressure on it, whereas on the plain tie, it's all flat maybe and rounded, so it has less of that issue. I could basically flick that one anywhere. This one, if I put pressure like around here on the lock bar, it'll seize up and I can't flick it, see? But regardless of that, I decided to sell that plain titanium one. I had a good buddy, his nickname is Big Sexy, and he really wanted a Nymble and he missed out on the drops, and he offered me something I couldn't really refuse for that plain tie one, so I sold it to him. I didn't need two. I just got overzealous. You know, like when I love a model, I always try to get multiples, you know me. So that's kind of what happened there. Do I regret buying both? No, I'm glad I got to try both. I really like both, but the frag pattern one just stuck with me more. I just love the design. I love the feel of the frag pattern. I've become a fan of frag pattern. I have the Chavez Fanatic Edge Modded Edition 229 with frag pattern. I've had a couple things recently in frag pattern. It's just kind of cool and different, you know. I do apologize for my voice. I don't know when this video will go up, but at the beginning of August here, my whole family got sick. We're not sure. It might be corona. It might not. My wife hasn't been tested yet. You might know by the time this goes up. Regardless, we feel like shit. I mostly just have like a head cold, a lot of congestion up here, headaches kind of thing, and I just feel really fatigued and like sick. You know how it goes. But I felt a little better tonight. I wanted to knock some videos out because I miss it, you know. This is kind of my therapy, as Stasa would call it. So, yeah, so I just want to knock it out. And it's been a while, guys. I was due to do this review. I'm not sure what I was waiting for. I think I just like it so much that I didn't want to have to do the review and then kind of put it in the knife case, because that's kind of what happens, right? But the ones that truly shine, they do make it in the pocket. So we'll see how that goes with this guy. It does shine, though. It's a really nice piece. Alright, so let's start off aesthetically. So, materials-wise, you have titanium with the frag pattern. You have titanium clip. I believe the hardware might be titanium. It could be steel, but it is anodized, so it's probably titanium. I don't know if they could do that to steel. I would think not. If there's some... Oh, you know what? I have a couple. Sorry, I just saw something down in the pivot area there. Not sure. It looks a little rustish, but I think it's just dirt and shit. Yeah, it's just dirt and shit, so no big deal. I just wanted to make sure, because I've had some rusting issues as of late, because it is humid as balls here. Last month was the worst. I rusted a lot of blades, and Flitz polish has been an absolute godsend. I have not found anything else that takes the rust off so easy. You just put a little bit on and then if it doesn't come right off, when usually you just wipe it off, the rust comes right out. If it doesn't, I just take a normal toothbrush and brush in the flits and then wipe it off, and it usually does every time, knocks it out. Obviously, the earlier you catch it, the better. But yeah, I did have the fuller, or the hole here, the bead blast in this spot right here, rusted on this side, I think. And it's just the nature of a bead blast and my ass sweat. That's literally just all it is. I don't blame the knife or the design or the heat treat or anything. I've had it happen to Riot-made knives, QSP-made knives, American-made knives like my Medford. It's just what happens. So you got to take care of your blades, and just keep an eye out. When I take my stuff out of my pocket at night, I take a look. If there's any rust, I knock it right out, and then I put the EDCI on and rub it in with my finger, which was a idea that my buddy Jordan on YouTube here gave me, and I think that's been working. I'm not sure, but I've been rubbing the EDCI in with my finger and then wiping it off. Okay, sorry. Again, I told you I'm sick. I'm out of it. I'm going for it. Yeah, and the blade, cut back to where we were. The blade is M390 with a satin finish. Absolutely gorgeous satin finish. And then there's bead blast in the holes, as we just talked about. In the fuller, I guess you would call it. I don't know what you would call that. The cutout there. So aesthetically, you have a drop point or spear point blade. It's a good looking knife, guys. I really like this guy. It has that kind of look like some that I don't like, that look like whales or fish, but it doesn't. It somehow escapes that. I don't know what it is about the lines. It kind of gives me like a 1950s hot rod kind of look, or like one of those, what was that car that Batman drove back in the day with the two glass bubbles on top for windshields? It kind of reminds me of something like that, especially on this side here with the clip. Really nice lines, kind of bends from tip to stern, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's really nice, guys. I like the look of it. Ergonomically, now, if you hold it back here, you know, I could squeeze them in, but I'm really squeezing them in. If I kind of do it normal, this pinky's going to be hanging off a little bit, but I live up here like this. And it is super comfortable. This gap right here is a little bit larger than I usually like, because it kind of feels weird to have that between your index and your middle finger. But because I can kind of pull on this with my index finger and back up, it does feel really good like this. You can also kind of spread it up and do it this way. That's not as comfortable for me. I like to hold it like this. The jimping rides far enough up the blade that you get a hold of it even in this choked up grip. It's fantastic. The ergos are really good on this knife, guys. Yeah, so the carry. This clip works extremely well. It's not super deep, but it is plenty deep. I mean, you have, what, this much sticking out. I've never had an issue with it. I carried it in my back left pocket mostly, a little bit in my front left before I stabbed myself before the burger incident of 2021. And since then, it was in my back left pocket, and it did just fine there. Disappears. I mean, it weighs like, you know, I don't know. It has to weigh like 4 ounces, maybe 4.5 ounces, maybe 4, I think. It's pretty small, even though it has significant weight. I mean, there's milling on the inside, especially on the show side. The lock side does not seem to have any milling that I can see, but it's not heavy at all. I mean, it's not like a bug out, but for its size and everything, it's a good weight. So carry is good, no issues with the clip. It goes in and out of pocket very well. No issue with the frag pattern. This one worked as well as the plain titanium one. Cutting, guys, this thing cuts like an absolute laser beam. It is super sharp from factory. Has a very, very good flat grind. Comes down to a thin edge. I mean, this thing is, like I said, it's a laser beam, guys. It cuts extremely well. I use this knife more than I've used a lot of knives because I enjoyed cutting with it. It came out of my pocket and it just wants to cut and it feels really good. The only issue I really have with cutting is the little choily thing right here, because if you hold it like I like to hold it, you can try to go into like cardboard or paper and you could catch the right on the end there and then it won't cut through. But other than that, as long as you're paying attention to your cut, it's absolutely fantastic. The tip is phenomenal. I cut a lot of shipping labels out and I used this. This one was very, very good. It penetrated well. I could get through like 3.5 labels with this on printer paper, which for me, I test every blade on that. And surprisingly, a lot of knives only will get through the first label and then they'll maybe leave marks on the second one, right? And a good blade will get through 2, right? And leave marks on the third. This guy went through 3 and left marks on the 4th one. And if I had pushed a little harder, it probably would have made it through. But it did exceptionally well on that kind of test that I do. That's my biggest test, honestly. That and opening fucking packages, right? So yeah, cutting is phenomenal on this thing. The M390 is great. I haven't used it enough to need to strop it or put an edge on it, so I can't speak to that, guys. Hopefully somebody else in the community will do a video in terms of the actual, cutting ability and performance and all that kind of stuff. And I always leave that stuff to the experts, Outpost 76 and Tom Hosting Outdoors and those guys, Cedric and Ada. I know those guys probably aren't going to get this knife, but those are the guys I really trust with that kind of information. They should have information on QSP M390. That should help if you're interested. Anyway, check those channels out. Sounds. I really like the sound on this guy. It just sounds really good. It's not like some thunderous sound, right? Like some knives I like. It doesn't have a ting like some knives I like, but it just has a very solid flat when it comes out, especially with the middle finger flick. And then on close, it just sucks it in. Sounds really good, especially if you kind of kick it back. Oh, it's satisfying, guys. It's like a 7 out of 10 for me on sounds, which for me, I usually give things a 5, right? Obviously, that's average, but you know what I'm saying. All right, so we covered ergos, aesthetics, cutting, carry, and sounds. I'm drinking tea here, guys, if you're interested. Trader Joe's nighttime tea, to be exact. Action, my favorite, right? So this thing excels in the action category. It is one of the most fidgety knives I've ever handled. So you have jimping on both sides here. I love that. So you have jimping up front here for a flipper tab or a front flipper, and then you have jimping on the back here for the flipper tab. It is a top flipper, or not a top flipper, a vertical type flipper. You've seen those in Veros. You've seen them in Liang Ma knives. You'll now see them in Luft Concepts designs. They're very popular right now, this kind of vertical flipper, because when you pull down, you just kind of pop, you get a lot more leverage, and you don't need as strong of a detent to get it to fly out, which is important if you're also going to have a front flipper and a middle finger flicker, right? So it's a very smart choice using that type of flipper tab. Now, because it's a front flipper, I guess you kind of have to do that, but I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, if you use the flipper tab, you get good purchase on that jimping, and there it goes. I mean, it could literally have no detent, and it would still fire out because of the way that flipper tab is sorry, that was me. The way it's made. You do have to light switch it. Obviously, with the vertical flipper like this, you're not going to be able to push button, because you're going to get smacked with the front flipper. right? And that happens to me a lot when I first get a knife like this. It takes me a little bit to figure it out because you're so used to push button or like doing it, you know? So just keep that in mind. But if you just pull back, light switch it, bang, every time, no problem. Front flipper, jimping, perfect. Cracks out, no issue. Detent dialed perfectly. Some people have told me theirs is too strong on the front flipper. I have not had that issue at all. It is perfectly dialed for the front flipper and the back flipper. And then, of course, you have the middle finger flick. Flies out of there. Yes, it could be stronger. Yes, I can fail it. But it has all these other things. I forgive it. And I just grab it and go. And being left-handed, I am putting the slightest bit of pressure on the lock bar, and it seems to give it a little more detent, right? Strengthens that detent, and it really fires out of there. But it's not one you want to do the pressure test on, right? You don't want to do the whole inch it out type thing. But it's working right there. If I do it right-handed, it's going to flop out, you'll see. See, pressure, it just flops. It's not made for that, you know. It's still a good detent, but it's just not made to do that. Left-handed, you get a little more strength on the detent because of the lock bar, like I said. So that's one solid thing for lefties here. But one negative thing, lock bar pressure. Like I said, you cannot put any pressure on there, or not a lot, right? You can't be riding it. You can put a little bit of pressure on there and you'll be fine. But you got to kind of be down here a little bit and then bang it out. I got used to it, and like I said, I even had the plain titanium one, which seems to be better with that, but I prefer this just because I really like the frag pattern. So action is like a 9 out of 10, guys. It is fantastic. Value. So I paid $250. They did a drop a couple weeks after the pre-orders got shipped, and those were $279. I think that's what I paid for the plain titanium one. And then I think he did another drop like last week. He had a few other ones left that he just threw on the website, and those were like $289, right? So basically, I'm going to call it $280 for this guy right here. Titanium, M390, Chinese OEM. Excellent action. That's the price of like a Pena X Series knife from Riot, right? Riot being the OEM. That is the price of a Wii Shamwiri, right? Sorry, the Gareth Bull Shamwiri made by Wii, $275. Is QSP up to that level? On this knife, on this example in my hand, yes. They are up to that level. I understand that. You also have to understand this is not a big knife company, a big designer. This is the guy's first knife. This is his first knife design. Sorry, folding knife design. He does have the OTFs. My apologies. Man, I'm losing my voice fast, aren't I? Yeah, so this is his first folding knife. His first, I'd say premium folder. And he nailed it, guys. I mean, he absolutely knocked it out of the park with this. I had my gripes early on with him. Just stupid shit that was really on my end. Misunderstandings and getting a little petty. And I went over that in my unboxing. It's not a big deal at all. We're good and everything. By the way, his name is John over at EMPEDC. He's a great dude. And dude, he nailed it. He did. He just killed it. You cannot deny a good knife design, a great knife design, and a very, very, very good execution. And you put those things together, and this is what you get. It's quite nearly a home run, guys. I don't really have much. The only negatives I have are The bearings are really small. But he chose those on purpose because it gave him better action. I mean, look at the closing action. I didn't even talk about the closing action. It basically drops shut. Look how small this blade is. That's why he did those bearings. So it's for a reason. And I don't have any play, any wiggle here in between. The bearings have held up. They've just broken in more and more. You know, I had the slightest bit of lock stick when I first got it. I took it apart. I did the disassembly video, put it back together, Loctited it overnight, and it was money. I've never had lock stick since. It feels fantastic. Do I recommend it? Yes, I recommend this to everyone. I really do. Yeah, first knife design, guys. Folding knife design. God damn it, Kev. Either way, it's a pretty much brand new company. The guy's been around for like a year. And I got to commend him, man. He did a great job. And this is a fantastic knife. This is the EMPEDC Nymble. Keep your eyes out. He is dropping a new knife, the Thick Boy. Completely different knife. That's a thick little chunky boy. That guy is dropping on the 14th of August. I might get this out after that, so if it's still available, go check it out at empedc.com. He's also coming out with an XL version of the Nymble and a version 2 of the Nymble. He's got a lot of ideas, and I can't wait to see what he does. So, great job, John. And thank you guys for getting through this video with me. It's been a struggle. I can barely talk anymore. I really love you guys. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will catch you later.